Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Embarrassing moments. Now, we've all had embarrassing moments. But mine started, that I can remember, when I was 21. Up to then, 21. Up to then, I'd been an apprentice electrician in a bakery. Lovely warm job, never got cold in the winter. But at 21, I got married. And I couldn't afford to be an electrician in a bakery at 21, because the money weren't good enough. And there was a job in the paper, Madison Cranes wanted electrician, stroke mechanic for erecting cranes. Plenty of overtime. I thought, that's just the job that I want. So I applied for it and got it. I don't think anybody else wanted it, that's why I got it. Anyway, the first job they sent me to, now this is the 70s, was Heathrow Airport. And they were building the hangars for when the Concorde came. But when I arrived there was no door on the front, no door on the back, and it was the beginning of January. It was absolutely freezing. And as I said, we just got married. So when I got back home, you went away for 3 weeks, and after the 3 weeks, you came home for a weekend. I said to him, well, I can't stand that. It's absolutely perishing there. You'll have to do, we've got this mortgage, it's £20 a week. That £20 a lot in them days. So I said, well, what am I going to do? She said, I said, it's just so cold. Why don't you put a pair of tights on? I said, I can't put your tights on. He said, of course you can. So I thought, well, I'll do. So I got a pair of tights, put them, went down there, put them on first day. Well, everything was all right until you come to go to the toilet. Then you realise that was don't go to the toilet. So after the third person said to me, have you got diarrhea or something? The best thing I can do is cut hole in the front of them. So I got a Stanley knife, and we had to be very careful because I cut this nylon, and then I went to the toilet again, and I'm stood there, and there's a bloke that came West Indian anyway. It was the same size as me, but massive. And he was at the next toilet, and I stood there, and I pulled my zip down, and then I started pulling this nylon out with its stretches, which one look at me and shot out the toilet. So this won't do at all, Kevin, you're going to have to change. Now, believe it or not, in the 70s, they didn't have supermarkets, so I thought, what I'll have to do, I'll get a pair of nylons. Now, it weren't that easy to get a pair of nylons, because I went along and there was this sign, lingerie shop, so I knew a bit like that. And I went in and I said, I want a pair of nylons. So she says, now do you want them for day or night? Oh, that's dead easy. For the day. So she says, right. She said, now do you want seamed or unseamed? Now I'd done a bit of copper pipe work, and I knew that unseamed were far better than seamed. So I said, unseamed. And then she threw me, she said, what dinner do you want? Well, I said, I'll just have them over there at 2 and 11. So the next morning I practiced, because I got these tights up here. And I went, but they come down, don't they? They kept coming down. And I thought, they were around my ankles, I thought, this is good. And I thought, well, there's no way I'm going back to that shop for some suspenders. But I've been in the Cubs, so I knew about garters and that. So I went down to the shop and got some elastic. So I tied this elastic round to hold them up, and I thought, hey, they were great, absolutely great, fabulous. But the day after, I was looking on the top of the scaffolding, all I heard was a mighty crash, and I woke up in Brentford Hospital. All I remember, I just had these jams on. So I lay there with these jams on, and a woman come round, so I said, what's happened to me? She said, you were knocked out, and we've got you in for concussion. True story this, it's perfectly true, we've got you in for concussion. So I said, right, now in them days, in the 70s, if you were injured at work, they paid your wage. But if you just went on sick, you only got sick money. But I looked out the window and you could see the snow coming down like this, and I thought, there's no way I'm moving from here. I'll make this last as long as I can. Anyway, she came along, the doctor had a look at me, and the nurse said, you can get up and go in the day room. I thought, I'm getting up nowhere, I'm stopping in this warm bed again. Well, I must have dozed off, and I woke up again, and it was the sitting time. And they've all sat round, and the nurse come round with the matron. Well, them days the matron ruled, it's not like that now, is it? No. But the matron completely ruled the hospital. And what's he doing in there? So she said, I've told him 3 times to get up, and he's not got up. She said, get your clothes and get up now. So I looked, and they all stopped, and they all looked, and she walked over to the door, and she turned around and she says, and if you want your stockings for this, go on. Now it gets better. Not long since, the other week, somebody to ask me to have a look at a lift. And it was in a house. Now, what happens is, they're like in the front room in a corner, the lift, and it goes upstairs and it picks the actual ceiling up and it goes up into the bedroom. So somebody in a wheelchair can sort of get in it and they can go up into the bedroom. You can imagine the scene, can't you? Well, I've been to this house many times, but the lady had moved. So when I phoned up, she said, "I'm not there, Kevin, now." She said, "I've got a little bungalow." I said, "Oh," I said, "Is there still somebody in the house?" She said, "Well, I think so." I said, "Well, are they using the lift?" "Well, I think so." So I went round to the house, unannounced, and the curtains were drawn. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I get there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Curtains drawn, bangs on the door. Finally, a fella comes with his dressing gown on, and he says to me, "Oh," I said, "Well, listen, don't apologise. I've come to have a look at your lift. I should have phoned you, but I haven't got a telephone number." And he explains that phone this one. "Oh, come in," he said. So I go in, and the telephone rings, and he picks it up. He picks it up, and he's talking. I said, "Get the lift in the corner. Get good." So I get in the lift in the corner, and it goes up, and you can see it picking the ceiling up, and it goes up, and I turn this way, and there's a girl with her hands behind her back, lay on the bed, completely stark naked. Obviously, she thinks it's her husband that's come back, or boyfriend. So I press the stop button. Well, there's always a delay on these things, and I press the down one and say, "Please, please go down, don't stick like." But I went back down, and I managed to get out. I'll won't be 2 minutes. Went back up again, of course. She's done it bathroom this time. Went back again, and just as I'm going back, he's finished off the boat, and you can see him straighten this thing, and I thought, there's no chance that you were going to go back up there and have a good time. But there's not only that, the last one that really embarrassed me even more was I was looking at the Greyhound pub. Now that's on the East Lancs Road, and they just put a new lift in, and they said to me, "Can you just make sure it's all right?" And I said, "Yeah, of course I can." So I thought, "I'm keen, I'll go and have a look." So I went up onto the roof where the motorroom were, checked everything was all right, came back down, and I locked the door. And they were ready, they were opening this pub. It was a complete new venture, they were opening. And they were waiting for the manager to open. So where's the manager gone? And there were directors there from Greenhalghs and what have you, and there's a celebrity there, I forget who, one from Coronation Street it was, that was there, that was going to open it. And they were all looking, and then I went out to the carpet to get something for my van, and I looked up, and who stood on the roof but the manager. And that was really, that's an embarrassing moment.